Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Apple Watch 7th generation and see if this particular watch is still worth buying in 2024. Now, I will definitely tell you in a lot of different ways, this particular watch is still completely worth buying. I think this was a very, very good choice when Apple made it back in 2021. Now, it's not a perfect watch by any means, but I do think in a lot of different ways, it's still a very good watch that has a lot of capability and a lot of quality. And I do think it's still a very relevant device when it comes down to it. So if you want to pick it up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Apple Watch Series 7, this particular watch on the front basically came out in two different sizes, but this was a very interesting approach basically from Apple because this kind of changed, I guess, the lineup a little bit of their whole entire device hardware. So before the Apple Watch Series 7 for many generations, you were basically getting an Apple Watch that either had a 40mm size or a 44mm size. When they went ahead and made the Apple Watch Series 7, they did end up going through and actually expanding this type of display, which was actually a really nice thing. And at first, I didn't really notice it to be that big of a difference over the images and everything, but once you actually get it in hand, it is actually a pretty significant difference, which is genuinely very crazy. So on the front of the Apple Watch Series 7, you were getting a 41mm size and a 45mm size as well, which I do think is actually pretty nice. It's super nice having that type of capability right there, and it is a very, very good display. It gets very bright, it looks very sharp, and there's really not that much to complain about here. And it is almost the same exact display as the Apple Watch Series 9, but it's just not as bright, but still a very, very good display. The whole entire build quality of this Apple Watch 2 is very good as well. Like I said before, there's just really not that much to complain about here from the build quality standpoint of this particular watch. You still have the action button on the side and you have the digital crown as well, which is another really cool advantage with this particular device because it still looks and feels very, very good when it comes down to it. On the back, you do have that standard charging pad, so you can go ahead and just connect this thing to that Apple Watch charger and connect it here. And you have the band slots as well. Now, I still think the stock bands that you get within the Apple Watch, as soon as you buy it, still feel very good. They're still very premium. And the best thing is that depending on the size you get, if you get a small or big one, those bands are interchangeable between the first Apple Watch and the latest Apple Watch. So every single band that has ever came out is basically usable on these Apple Watches, which is actually a very cool thing. I love that so much. So you can buy an Apple Watch Series 7 and you can still use the first Apple Watch bands that you bought, and you can still use the original Apple Watch charger as well. Those are some really big advantages when you're buying these types of Apple Watches, because you don't have to have a bunch of random things going around and a bunch of random accessories that are no longer compatible. They should be all compatible for the most part. So on the exterior, this type of watch screams premiumness to me, and it's still a very, very good watch when it comes down to it. Now, on top of that, with this type of device, you are still getting that Apple S7 chip inside, which is still a very, very good chipset. That chipset is powering this whole entire Apple Watch, which I think is a very, very good and premium type of device. So with this type of Apple Watch, or what most people end up doing with their Apple Watch when it comes down to it, they basically do things like checking notifications, tracking workouts, and maybe using some heavier intensive applications, maybe like Spotify or Apple Music, or maybe you're taking notes or voice memos on your Apple Watch. It's a little bit different than an iPhone or an Android. You're not really going to be playing games on your watch or opening up Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. So your watch doesn't have to be as demanding or as powerful as you probably think it needs to be. I'm still using an Apple Watch Series 4 from like 2019 or 2018, and it still is a very, very good watch. So the Series 7 is just a better watch on top of that. So I would say from a performance perspective, you don't have that much to complain about here either. It'll handle everything you throw at it. And from a software experience as well, this is another really big advantage, because when you're buying something like the Apple Watch Series 7, you're still getting an Apple Watch that is still very, very powerful from that particular perspective as well. So you don't have to go ahead and have to, worry about your Apple Watch being unsupported with software or anything like that at all, because this device is still going to be here probably for the next 3 years, maybe more, maybe less, but for the most part, it's probably going to be around a 3-year period where this Apple Watch is still going to be supported, and even beyond that. WatchOS updates are a little bit different than iOS updates. You can have an outdated watch, maybe a year or 2 years older outside of its software update, and still be perfectly fine. So I will tell you overall, the Apple Watch Series 7 is still a very, very good Apple Watch that I would recommend the average person to go ahead and buy. They knocked it out of the park when they first made it, and I still think it's a very, very good Apple Watch. It's not perfect, but I will tell you, compared to the Series 9, there's some differences, but it's really not as big of a difference as you probably expect. So from that particular perspective, that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.